Okay, guys, so this time we're going to look at IP addresses. This is kind of an introduction to IP addresses and how they can be used. Essentially, what we're going to do is look at how we can edit them inside a Windows 10 PC. This is also true for the most part for Windows 11 and even Windows 7. Essentially, the way I'm going to do it, you can, as long as you can still get to Windows networking, you can edit your IP settings as you see fit. So basically, let's go to the desktop and let's look at what we need to do. Okay, so here we are in a Windows desktop. We're looking at the book that we use for this class, and basically it's open up in a browser. So we're moving up to layer 3 in the OSI model. IP addresses identify the nodes. A node is any other computer on the network besides the router, basically. Anything connected to a router or switch, this is going to be the router because it's IP addresses. Remember, we learned last time MAC addresses are how switches work, and that's layer 2. Layer 3 IP addresses are where the routers live. So we're going to figure out exactly what we can do to change. There are two types of IP addresses that we're concerned about. We have a static IP address. Essentially, that's an IP address that we go in and assign. We say, all right, computer, this is your address. There's a dynamic IP address that we get from a DHCP server. The reason this came about is because back in the day, people constantly brought in hardware and set up new computers in companies. Instead of being assigned an IP address, it was nice to be able to have somebody be able to set up a computer in the middle of the night, say when your IT guys were not there, to give them an IP address. So we established a server that can assign those addresses and can provision that network connection on the network through the server without too much trouble. So that way, if you bring in a laptop and you need to work and it's 10 o'clock at night, all the IT guys have gone home. Essentially, all you have to do is open up a wireless connection or plug into a network socket, and you will get an IP address from the DHCP server. It's called a dynamic IP. So DHCP stands for Dynamic Host Configuration. Remember, we said a host is any computer on the network, and so dynamic, that means real-time, on the fly. In this case, host configuration. We're configuring the host with IP address, subnet mask, and the information that it needs, and it's a protocol. It's the rules that make it work. So two types of IP addresses, that's going to be on the test. You need to be aware of that. How we can set up the settings, here is the easy way. Now you can go through the book, and you need to, and it will tell you how to do this. You can go to the start button and search network and internet, etc., etc. But the easy way, the way I like to do it, is come over here, find this little icon down in your system tray, and it will tell you what your network name is, and it will tell you if you have internet access or not. I like to right click on that and go to Open Internet Network and Settings. It's just faster than the typing. Okay, so Ethernet 22 is the connection I'm using. I've used 175.62 gigabytes of bandwidth in the last few days, I guess the last 30 days. Properties are here, data usage is here, but what we're interested in is changing the adapter settings. Now, you can do that here. If you click on this where it says change adapter settings, then it will give you in the control panel the list of all your various and sundry adapters. Now, you can also do this by going to control panel and then moving in from that way as well. There's a jillion ways to reach this area. What you're looking for is the one that is connected. So this one says not connected, this one's disabled, this one's unplugged, this Wi-Fi is not connected. However, Ethernet 22, which we discovered here was the one we're using, that is connected. If we right click, select properties, and notice the little blue and yellow shield, that means this is an administration function. You may or may not have the permissions to do this. We click on properties. If you have the permissions, then this little property adjustment window will show. Now, as amazing as it is, we are still using IPv4 for the most part in corporate America. Who knows? Probably because IPv6 is so complicated that using version 4 is not onerous enough yet to make it necessary to change. Eventually, we will have to switch to version 6 completely because version 4 is just going to run out of. It's just going to run out of numbers, essentially. But for right now, everyone's still using IPv4 for the most part. So we select that, we highlight it in the list, and we hit Properties. Okay, as you can see, my IP address is set to DHCP. Obtain an IP address automatically, obtain DNS information automatically, and that's how it'll be for the most part. This is how you set up a DHCP address. You click on these two dots and then close it, and you're good. However, if for some reason you feel the need to set up a static IP address, then you can click here, back to Properties, and change this dot to use the following address. Now what you have to do is you have to put in an address that is within your IP scheme. And how you do that is you will need to you'll need to open a command prompt. Oops. Which the easy way for me to do that is going to be from the desktop. And I'm just going to do ipconfig. Currently my IP address is 10.5.1.169. So I know my scheme is 10.5.1. And so I would do something like 10.5.1. And I would give it some number that's not in the IP scheme. So that's going to be a problem if you don't know what the DHCP range is for your network. So this is not something you do. You don't want to give yourself a static IP that's inside the DHCP range. That's the numbers that DHCP can assign. Usually it won't, the network administrator won't let DHCP assign just any address in the scheme. It limits it to like between 1 and 25. So you could get 10.5.1.1. Pardon me, not 1 because that's the router, but you could get 10.5.2 up to 10.5.25. After that, you will not get any more static, or pardon me, dynamic assign. So you'd have to do a static if you wanted to be above that, what we're doing. So you need to know what range your DHCP server sets. And unfortunately, the only way to find that is to ask IT administrator. All right, so subnet mask needs to be the same, 255.255.0. This is a class C, even though the numbers are set up not to be. And then the default gateway is the router, 10.5.1.1. Okay, DNS. To find the DNS information, you're going to have to do ipconfig/all. I think, let's see. Yep. All right, so we're going to go config/all. All right, DNS. Let's see here. Okay. DNS servers 10.10.0.6 and 10.10.0.4. So we can come down here, 10.10.0.4. 10.10.0.6, and right now we have the appropriate settings for a connection on this network. The problem that we might run into is if we click OK and this network IP address is already on the network for some reason, then it's going to give us a duplicate network error and it will kick us off the network. So we're not going to hit OK, but this is the next step. We would hit OK here, we would hit close here, and it would validate. And when it did, it would either tell us we're connected or not. So basically, that is what we would do to change to a static IP address. We, however, are not going to do that. We're going to go back to obtaining dynamics because I don't know what the range is. We're going to cancel out. I'm going to close that. But that is how you would configure a static IP address on your network. Now, as the book tells you, if you're using Hyper-V, you're going to see something a little bit different because you're going to have a virtual connection, and that complicates things a little bit more. But since we're not going to worry about that right now. We will look at virtualization a little bit later in the course. So that is how you would connect to a network using a static IP address. All right, guys, hope that was helpful. The one thing you really want to remember is you need to know where the dynamic IP address range is for your router if you're going to use a static. Probably the best way to deal with that is to contact your IT administrator and explain to him why you need a static, and he will give you one. He will give you a static IP address that's not in the scheme. That way you won't have to worry about your computer getting kicked off the network because you used a static that somebody else had as a dynamic or something like that. So thing that you want to avoid is avoid using IP addresses, because if you duplicate an IP address that's already on the network, it will kick you off, and you won't be able to connect, and you'll have to go back to dynamic IP addresses. So it's very important that you remember that. And if you have any questions about this one, let me know. This is a thing you'll need to be able to do on the test and also on the certification test. It's a very important and a very basic IT networking task. So if you have any questions about it, let me know. Contact me through the Canvas inbox or second floor of the library by the back steps, room 210. Have a good day. I'll see you guys in class.